Unlock your potential in 60 seconds. Sounds impossible? It probably does, especially if you still believe the outside world holds more sway than your inner strength. But here's the truth, your biggest hurdle isn't a lack of time, money, or resources. It's a faulty frequency. And until you change that frequency, nothing changes. It's like trying to pick up an FM radio station with an AM receiver. You fiddle with the dial, pound the buttons, curse the technology, but the fact remains, you won't get clear reception without the right frequency. Ever feel like you're trying to change your life on the wrong station? You wake up hoping for a breakthrough, chance, a sign. But while you wait, you stay locked onto the same old channel, the station of fear, doubt, and scarcity. And what happens when you broadcast that frequency? You attract more of the same. More debt. More frustration. More powerlessness. Everything vibrates. This isn't some motivational fluff, it's science. Physics proves the universe is in constant oscillation, your thoughts included. And those thoughts carry energy. Real, measurable energy. Energy you constantly emit. The crucial question is, are you broadcasting the frequency of what you want, or what you fear? Your phone, yes, that thing in your hand only receives calls when it's on the same frequency as the caller. Your mind works exactly the same way. You only connect with what resonates with you. It's not punishment, it's resonance. You crave prosperity, but vibrate scarcity. You yearn for a loving relationship, but emit neediness. You desire opportunities, but broadcast the fear of failure. I get it. I've been there. I jumped from one soul-crushing job to another, struggling, working endless shifts at factories and gas stations. Nothing felt right. Nothing seemed to work. Yet, deep down, something whispered, there's more. But I couldn't tune into that more. My thoughts were too busy complaining about what I lacked. Until that book landed in my lap, Think and Grow Rich. It wasn't magic, it was physics. It was vibration. That book shifted my mental frequency. For the first time, I connected with abundance, possibility, a different future. What happens when you change your frequency? Your ideas change. The people around you change. Opportunities that seemed non-existent suddenly appear. Not because the world changed, but because you changed your tuning. Consider this, if your life reflects your mental frequency, what have you been attracting? Do you really believe someone who spends their days muttering, I can't, it's not for me, that only works for others, will suddenly be showered with an extraordinary life? Of course not. The universe is precise. It returns exactly what you emit, nothing more, nothing less. This doesn't mean faking happiness. It's not about delusion. It's about aligning your mental antenna with what you truly desire. Why do so many people spend their lives trying to change, yet fail? Because they change their wishes but not their frequency. It's like trying to navigate with the wrong map. You might think this is complicated, but shifting your frequency takes a single instant. It's a decision. A choice. Saying, from now on, I stop thinking small. I stop repeating what I've been taught. I stop tuning into limitation. Most people repeat, I don't know if I can, it's not for me, that would never work for me. But let me ask, what if that very thought is blocking everything you crave? You're in control. The choice is yours. Your life changes when you change your frequency. Not tomorrow. Now. You weren't born thinking the way you think today. You learned it. Every thought of scarcity, every limiting belief about money, every idea that you're not good enough, it was taught. Repeated. Programmed. And worse, you didn't even realize it. It's like living with software installed by others, parents, teachers, neighbors, friends. They didn't mean to harm you, but they gave you what they had. And what did they have? Fear. Belief in limitation. A worldview built on survival, not creation. Ever caught yourself saying, when I have money, I'll start my business, when my kids are grown, I'll chase my dream, when things calm down, I'll do it. That's programming. It creates the illusion that your time hasn't come. It keeps you in, almost, maybe, someday. I've seen it countless times. Intelligent people, brilliant ideas, the talent to transform the world, stop dead, choked daily by the same thing, doubt. What if I told you this isn't your fault? That you're simply acting according to the program you were given? And more importantly, that you can change that program? I remember a woman who came to me years ago. She'd worked in an office for over 20 years. Efficient, dedicated, she dreamed of being an entrepreneur. But every time she thought about quitting and starting her own business, something stopped her. She said, "Bob, I know I have potential. But I can't. I feel something holding me back." And I said, "Of course you do. That something is your paradigm." A paradigm is a set of beliefs, values, and habits that control your behavior, even if you're unaware of it. It's like trying to drive forward with your foot on the brake. You accelerate, but you don't move. Or worse, you burn out the engine. Do you know when she broke free? When she stopped waiting to have everything planned. When she understood that the plan comes after the decision, never before. She decided. She quit. She started her business. 6 months later, she wrote, saying she earned more than in her 20 years of formal employment. More importantly, she felt alive. This isn't about money, it's about freedom. It's about breaking free from the invisible prison that stops you from living the life you were born for. Ever seen someone who hates their job but won't leave because they're afraid? Because they think they won't find anything better? Because they worry about kids, rent, what others will say? That person is a prisoner, not of their boss or their salary, but of a paradigm that says conformity is safer than trying. And then we watch the days slip by, ideas die, dreams fade, all because someone said, long ago, don't dream too big, be careful not to get disappointed, you're not like them. But what if you are? What if you're more than they said? More than you think? More than your bank account shows today? You'll never know, unless you reprogram that mind. What's the greatest tragedy? Not someone failing to try. It's someone never trying because they are programmed to fail. That's why I tell you today, don't wait for money. Don't wait for security. Don't wait for others' approval. Because if you keep waiting, you'll wait until the end. And maybe, you won't even realize that the only thing separating you from the life you wanted was a decision. The decision to break free from autopilot. To break the old code. To upgrade your internal system. And finally live according to who you truly are. Thought is energy. But not just any energy. It's an invisible force that transcends time and space, shapes decisions, moves realities, and inevitably attracts what's in harmony with it. The most surprising thing is that most people think as if this has no consequence. As if it's possible to maintain a recurring negative thought and still expect an extraordinary life. It's like pouring poison on a plant and expecting it to bloom. Now, stop and observe your life. Look closely at your results, your income, relationships, health, daily routine. All of it, absolutely everything, is a direct reflection of what you've thought most frequently. It might be hard to hear, but it's liberating once you understand. Because if what you think determines what you live, then you have the power to change everything. Just change what you think. But people say, "Oh, Bob, it's hard to control thoughts." No, it's not. What's hard is continuing to live in scarcity, frustration, and stagnation. What's hard is spending your entire life ignoring your power and blaming the government, your employer, time, fortune, others. Ever notice how your mind sometimes seems to sabotage everything? You make plans, start enthusiastically, and then, that thought creeps in, what if it doesn't work? And you freeze. Not because you lack ability, but because you gave more power to doubt than to confidence. Know what I've learned observing thousands of people over the years? Those who thrive are those who've learned to protect life's most valuable space, the mind. They don't let just any thought in. They choose what they think, what they visualize, what they nurture. Because they know thought becomes feeling, feeling becomes action, action becomes result. Want to change your life? Then stop thinking, I can't, and start thinking, how can I? Stop thinking, this is impossible for me, and start thinking, what's stopping me from getting there? Because thought creates frequency. And frequency creates the result. I remember a man, an insurance salesman, who came to me once. He was broke, emotionally exhausted, and said, Bob, I don't know what to do anymore. I try everything, but nothing works. And I asked, do you really try everything? Or do you just think about everything that could go wrong? He stopped, looked at me silently, and burst into tears. Because in that moment, he understood that he'd been programming himself to lose for years. Not for lack of talent, but for an excess of negative thinking. From that day on, he decided to change his inner dialogue. Every day, before bed and upon waking, he repeated to himself, I am a successful professional. I am a millionaire mind. I attract clients easily. He didn't believe it at first. Of course not. His old paradigm was still trying to dominate. But he persisted. And weeks later, he started seeing results. More calls. More closings. More self-confidence. Today, he's one of the most respected names in his industry. Science shows that about 80% of daily thoughts are negative and repetitive. 80%. This means that if you don't take control, your mental pattern will be exactly the same as the day before, creating a tomorrow identical to yesterday. Do you really think you'll achieve a life of freedom thinking like someone imprisoned? Do you think you'll attract abundance by constantly saying you don't have any? Do you think you'll achieve self-love if you keep mentally repeating everything negative that was ever said to you? Enough. You have the power to choose a new thought right now. And that thought can generate a new feeling, which generates a new action, which brings a new result. That's how change begins. Not with money. Not with a degree. It's with a single new thought. Consciously chosen, repeated until it creates a new reality. And it all starts with you. The question is, which thought will you choose to nurture from now on? There's something inside you that never stops calling you. Even when everything seems fine, even when you have stability, security, routine, that voice persists. Subtle, but insistent. And it's not saying you're ungrateful. It's saying you're not yet complete. That you're not yet living what you were born to live. That dissatisfaction you feel, that restlessness that appears out of nowhere, isn't a flaw. It's a signal. A silent nudge from life saying, you were born for more. And no matter how long you've tried to convince yourself otherwise, that voice won't go away. Because it's your spirit. And the spirit always wants expansion. Always wants growth. Always wants total expression. But the problem is that, from an early age, we were taught to silence that voice. They said that wanting more was selfish. That changing was dangerous. That dreaming big was foolish. So you tried to fit in. Try to be reasonable. Try to convince yourself that the life you have is good enough. But good enough will never be enough for someone born to flourish. Ever had that feeling of doing everything right and still feeling like you're wasting time? Of waking up every day and wondering, is this all there is? You're not crazy. You're just hearing the truest part of you trying to emerge. And when you ignore that part for too long, something inside starts to sicken. You start sabotaging yourself. Procrastinating. Losing energy. Because it's not natural to live below your essence. I saw this with an acquaintance in the arts. He had everything, fame, money, prestige. But inside, an emptiness that nothing filled. And he said something I'll never forget, Bob, I hear applause all the time, but I don't hear myself anymore. And shortly after, he spiraled into self-destruction. Not because he was weak, but because he ignored the call of his own soul for too long. Now, look at your life honestly. What inside you is begging to be lived, and you keep postponing? What's trying to be born, and you insist on keeping it captive? The spirit doesn't want comfort. It wants expression. It wants the thrill of trying something new. It wants the sparkle in the eyes of someone who feels guided by purpose. And that's where many people get lost. because they think they're wrong for wanting more. But the desire for growth isn't empty ambition. It's spiritual nature. You look at a tree, it grows. You look at water, it seeks movement. You look at the sky, it expands. Everything in the universe is expanding. Why should you be the exception? When I started listening to that restlessness inside me, I was still working a routine that left me exhausted. Nothing against the work itself, it was honest, it was dignified, but it didn't fulfill me. And I remember the night I stopped and faced that emptiness. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just understood. I understood that that feeling of lack of meaning was my spirit telling me, you were created for something greater. And it's time to go. And going isn't easy. It will require courage. It will make you let go of secure things. It will make you misunderstood by many people. But do you know what's worse than that? Spending your whole life denying yourself. Betraying yourself. Withholding yourself. So, if there's something inside you that asks for more impact, more freedom, more truth, don't silence it. That's not ego. It's essence. And it won't stop calling you. Until you finally answer. You don't need to know how it will happen. You just need to decide that it will happen. And that's one of the biggest traps that keep people stuck. They believe they need to see the whole path before taking the first step. But that's not how the universe works. Life doesn't give you the whole map at once. It reveals the next section after you decide to walk. The problem is that you were taught to act only when you have guarantees. They said it's reckless to make decisions without certainty, without a plan, without security. But let me tell you something, total security doesn't exist. Absolute certainty doesn't exist. If you wait for everything to be in the right place, you'll wait for the rest of your life. How many times have you caught yourself saying, I'll only go when I have money? Or, I'll only start after I finish that course? Or even, as soon as things calm down, I'll take action. This kind of thinking is exactly what keeps you in the same place. Because it operates on a frequency of postponement. Of conditioning. Of, I only deserve it when. And the truth is that most people don't fail because they try and fail. They fail because they never decide. They wait. They wait for the right moment. They wait to have everything figured out. They wait for others' validation. And, without realizing it, they bury their own dreams. I've been there. I perfectly remember the day I decided to leave the fire department. I had no money. No degree. No business plan. But I had a decision. And that decision, as simple as it may seem, was the trigger that set everything in motion. You need to understand that true decisions aren't made based on circumstances. They are made based on what you want to create. You don't decide based on what you have. You decide based on what you want to achieve. Because if you only decide when the conditions are perfect, you'll never decide. I met a young man years ago who dreamed of becoming a speaker. But he said, I'm not ready yet. I asked, why? And he replied, because I haven't taken all the courses yet. I looked into his eyes and said, you'll never feel ready. And that's why you need to get on stage as soon as possible. A few months later, he went up. Trembling, insecure, but he did it. Today, he speaks to thousands. And do you know what he always tells me? The decision to do it without being ready is what transformed me. Do you think great achievements are made by people who were prepared? No. They are made by people who were determined. And that decision creates such a powerful, clear vibration that it starts to attract resources, people, ideas, paths. But nothing happens before the decision. Nothing. Doubt paralyzes. Decision liberates. And even if it seems like everything is against you, if you truly decide, the universe starts to move. Because true decisions have frequency. They vibrate. They transmit. They create. So, if you feel blocked, unclear, without energy, maybe it's not because there's no answer. Maybe it's because there's no decision. And when the decision comes, it reorganizes everything. The answers appear. The fears lessen. The ideas align. Now tell me something, are you waiting for the right moment, or are you willing to create the right moment? The choice is yours. And it can be made now. You don't need to have everything ready. You just need to be ready to decide. Ever wonder why, even doing everything right, life still seems stuck? You study, work hard, are a good person, but deep down, you feel like you're going in circles. As if something invisible is pulling you back every time you try to move forward. And maybe you think the problem is the world or other people. But what nobody told you, and I need to tell you now, is that there's a much more dangerous lock than any external obstacle, the feeling of unworthiness. You can have the best plan, the best opportunity, even the best talent. But if, deep down, you don't believe you deserve it, you'll sabotage everything yourself. You'll procrastinate. You'll get distracted. You'll invent excuses. You'll settle for less, even while dreaming big. This feeling of unworthiness doesn't appear written on your forehead. It camouflages itself in phrases like, I don't know if I'm good enough. There are much better people than me. Feeling stuck. Like your voice gets lost in the noise, your ideas dismissed before they even take flight. You're not alone. Many think a sunny disposition is enough, but positive thinking can't erase the crippling self-doubt, the nagging shame, the unshakable uncertainty that holds so many back. These inner demons roar louder than any pep talk. I saw this firsthand with a brilliant woman, overflowing with innovative ideas, yet perpetually paralyzed. Proposals stalled. Praise deflected. Just as a breakthrough loomed, she'd self-sabotage, seemingly without even realizing it. The root? Deep-seated insecurity, a belief she didn't deserve success. Raised with the idea that wealth corrupts, ambition in women is arrogance, and quiet humility trumps achievement, these beliefs had taken root, shaping her emotional reality. But this isn't destiny, it's programming, and it can be reprogrammed. You need to understand this: you deserve everything you deeply desire, not because of a perfect resume or flawless execution, but simply because you exist. Your very existence is proof the universe wants you to thrive. Neuroscience backs this up: your brain can't distinguish between a vivid mental image and reality. Visualize yourself achieving your goals, feel the exhilaration, train your emotions to vibrate at the frequency of deserving. Your inner identity will shift, impacting your actions, your posture, your choices. Life responds differently when you stop hiding your light under a bushel. As long as you're vibrating at the frequency of guilt, doubt, and self-deprecation, you'll attract experiences that confirm those beliefs. But shift to confidence, self-acceptance, and a knowing that you deserve amazing things, and the universe conspires to help you. Doors open, the right people appear, seemingly impossible opportunities become reality. Listen closely: you don't need to become better to deserve, just acknowledge who you already are. You don't need to conquer anything to feel worthy, just stop condemning yourself for the past. Accept this challenge: for 7 days, upon waking, close your eyes for 2 minutes, look yourself in the mirror, and say aloud, with feeling, from the depths of your being, I deserve. I receive. I am grateful. Prepare to be amazed by the shifts around you. It's not magic, it's breaking free from self-sabotage, tuning into the frequency of abundance, of unshakable belief in your right to an extraordinary life. The life you desire exists, but on a different frequency. You access that reality by changing your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about yourself. You don't need more time, more luck, you need an honest decision to settle for nothing less than your full potential. If this resonated, you've taken the first step. The next step is right here, in the video now playing on your screen, where we climb another rung on this transformative journey. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video, where you'll become a little bit better than you are today.